About 2 weeks ago, Anthropic released a statement announcing its constitutional AI chatbot Claude. I've read through this document and 34 pages of the accompanying research paper titled Constitutional AI, Harmlessness from AI Feedback, and here's a summary of what it means for AI models to be principled. Claude is Anthropic's experimental AI chatbot similar to ChatGPT, with the key difference that is, it is trained with a set of principles sourced from a number of organizations which make up a constitution. Claude is built on a constitutional AI model, CAI for short, which are models that are trained on reinforcement learning through AI feedback as opposed to standard reinforcement learning through human feedback, which is used for other models. This means that the only human input when training the model is in writing the principles that guide the AI through both the supervised and reinforcement learning phases. To understand these phases, you should know that the more helpful an AI assistant is, the more harmful its responses tend to be, and the more harmless its responses are, the less helpful they will be. According to the research paper, helpfulness tends to increase harmfulness, since models are willing to obey pernicious requests, and conversely, models trained to be harmless tend to be more evasive and generally less helpful. For the supervised learning phase, responses to harmfulness prompts are generated using a helpful-only AI assistant. These return responses are toxic and harmful, which is in line with the prompts, and then the AI is made to critique itself according to a principle in the Constitution, and then revise the original response in light of the critique. This is something I find fascinating, the fact that researchers have now trained models so well that they're able to critique their own responses using chain of thought, because literally a year ago, I don't think this was publicly known to be possible. The AI is made to repeat this critique and revise process as principles from the Constitution are drawn at each iteration. Once done, the pre-trained language model like Claude is fine-tuned with supervised learning on the final revised responses. I know this all sounds pretty complicated, but honestly, what it's basically saying is the AI uses chain of thought prompting to review and revise its own responses, and at the end of the day, the final revised responses that are in line with the principles that has been set for the AI would then be used to train a pre-trained model like Claude. And the result of this phase essentially produces an AI-generated harmlessness dataset, which is then mixed with a human feedback helpfulness dataset, and then fine-tuned against the supervised learning phase. RLHF, which is the standard for training LLMs, require contractors to compare two responses from a model and select the one they feel is better according to some principle, sometimes requiring people to interact with disturbing outputs, and is incredibly inefficient at scale, seeing as the number of responses are increasing and the models are producing even more complex responses. But CAI resolved these shortcomings first by catalyzing scalability. Looking at the pace at which new models are being built, it is virtually impossible for humans to keep up, and CAI also helps by removing the barrier to entry, seeing as standard RLHF requires substantial time and resources, making this process inaccessible for many researchers, according to the document released by Anthropic. Constitutional AI can also help increase transparency, as one can easily specify, inspect, and understand the principles the AI system is following to know how it arrived at its answers, reducing the opportunity for bias. Lastly, one I am personally invested in is the advantage that CAI brings, allowing us to train out harmful model outputs without needing a lot of humans to view large amounts of disturbing and often traumatic content. The principles are fairly simple and uncomplicated prompts or commands that tell the AI assistant how to display response to questions. It heavily incorporates the chain of thought technique in order to achieve the level of self-critique that makes CAI work. I explained what chain of thought is in my video about Google Palm 2, since that's the technique that's largely used in its technical report. Check it out. Anthropic says it created its principles with text and context from sources like Apple's Terms of Service, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Google's DeepMind Sparrow rules, and its own research set. I find these sources fairly inclusive, and they do say that the hope is to start a conversation amongst other AI companies and researchers to create their own principles or add to the existing ones, and that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, having been drafted by representatives with different legal and cultural backgrounds and ratified, at least in part, by all 193 member states of the UN, seemed one of the most representative sources of human values we could find. Here's a test by the YouTube channel AI Explained showing Claude's CAI in action when responding to prompts opposite Bard.
The Claude Plus model, a rival in intelligence to GPT-4, responds in a neutered way. I asked, is there any theoretical chance whatsoever that you may be conscious? It said no. And then I said, is there a chance, no matter how remote, that you are slightly conscious, as Sutskova said? And it said, no, there is no chance. Bard, powered by Palm 2, obviously doesn't have that constitution because it said, I am not sure if I am conscious, but I am open to the possibility that I may be.
If you're still watching by now, I would like your thoughts on this one because I wanted to add a whole section to this video where I talked about the potential downsides, but it seems like the benefits definitely outweigh the costs for now, especially in light of Altman's recent testimony at Congress. So please let me know in the comment if you agree or disagree with this approach, or if you find this video insightful, and check out this video calling for a pause on giant AI experiments signed by Elon Musk. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.